Hello and welcome to As a Service Andy. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about what you should be doing, the action items. I've got a speaking engagement next week where we'll be talking a lot about what it is that you should be doing. But on top of that, those action items, there's this whole idea of control and options. And so you need to be making a list, right? If you're looking to move to an as a service architecture or cloud-based architecture, what you need to do is understand what those implications are going to be. Now, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be positive implications, right? That's what you're shooting for here. So, what is the objectives? What are the objectives that you're trying to achieve when you migrate? And then, how do you get if you're trying to sell this within your organization, how do you get everybody on board? How do you evangelize it? How do you share with those individuals? And a lot of this comes down to what options you want and what type of control that you want. Now, let's step back for just a second. In a previous video, I talked a little bit about not all as a service is created equal. Just like, when you're talking about as a service, cloud is a part of that. And not all clouds are created equal. In fact, a lot of people use the terminology cloud and they don't actually mean maybe the same thing that you think that they mean, right? Cloud to them could be hosting something in a data center for you in a single tenant architecture. Cloud to them may be a monolithic architecture. Now, monolithic and microservices is a big deal. I get asked this question a lot. This is probably one of the bigger questions I get is, why do I even care about microservices? And in fact, it's such a buzzword and gets thrown out there that, as you're creating your list, you need to decide how you want your cloud to operate. And so one of those things that you do is you go, okay, what is monolithic versus microservices and what does that mean to my business? And really what it comes down to is a monolithic architecture has everything attached within it. The business rules engine, all kinds of things can be attached in the same area category. So what that simply means to you, or the impact to you, is if they do an update on one component of that, because there are still components, then it affects everything else. If they make a change, if something goes wrong, if there's this dependency on all these items for it to work. Where in microservices, they're not always micro, but the term means is that there's an independence to the components within the platform. So each function has a different services layer, and this allows for flexibility. So if you were asked my opinion, I like microservices a lot better. And again, it's a buzzword. People tend to gravitate towards it, but there is a good reason for that. When I have that type of architecture, I'm looking at flexibility. So I'm creating my list right now, and I'm creating my list. Here's my benefits to the cloud. Well, do I want the ability to have flexibility? The other one is control, right? How much control do I want over this? Because some cloud-based services are great. That's what they are. Or as a service, they're there. But do you have control? Can you make your own changes? Can you do all the functional work that you need to do for either that platform, whatever service that you might be getting, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, contact center as a service, UC as a service, it doesn't matter what it is. How much control do you actually want? And typically, one of the benefits for cloud-based architecture as a service is that you do have control, but it is not always the case. You take some of the big names out there. Again, I don't like mentioning too many names on the program, but you take some of the big names and you need a certification still to even touch the platform. And it's complicated and very convoluted. So your control in that scenario might be lessened unless you raise someone up to get certified and have knowledge of it. Where some of the other cloud-based architectures, you can have somebody jump in day one. Then they jump in day one and they can do whatever you need on. They can change the rules in it. They can modify things. They can export stuff. So that is another part of, as you create your list, what are the things that are important to you? Do you want flexibility? Microservices might be something you would want to lean towards then at that point in time. Do you want control? How much of this platform can you actually access and get into? What type of rule set do they have for you to get in and do the changes that you need to make on a regular basis? Or are you comfortable with paying somebody else to do that for you? And by the way, the ones that have control, typically you can still pay somebody to do it. It's just still accessible to you. So accessibility becomes an item on your list. So these become important. And then you're going to want to know metrics. How do I measure my usage of the platform? So this could be another item on your list. How important is usage to you? Do I need to see what I'm at capacity? Does it send me alerts? Do I understand what that capacity actually looks like? It is one of those items where, when you've got your stuff in your own data center or on-prem for that matter, that you tend to have that feeling and knowledge all the time of what's going on with that platform because you're in constant observation of it. Where the cloud, you literally have to make some initiative to go look and see how things are going unless they have an alert-based system on the platform that can tell you what's going on. And then, we talked a little bit about accessibility, but accessibility, how many, it's not only where can I access the platform from, but how good is that platform when I access it, and how do I measure that accessibility? So that can be another item that you want to put on your list. And as you create this list, this becomes important because, again, all of the vendors, all of them, use the same acronyms all the time, but they don't always mean the same thing. And so this is where you get to dig in, you make your list, and then you qualify your vendor based upon that list. And that will help you when you start talking to the various parts of the organization on, what aspects and benefits that you're going to glean out of this. And I'm telling you, this is one of those things that is just monumental, and it's happening all over the place. Everybody is looking to a different move. People are looking at new ways of doing things entirely. Some of the as a service items that I've been recently looked at or been recently exposed to have been items like being able to have a platform that merges multiple providers that gives me better accessibility for some other service that I'm doing. I mean, there's some great stuff out there, and there's a lot of good vendors. And I know some of you want me to list out the specifics, and I'm going to do that on a future program. We're going to have a couple of those vendors on, and we're going to chat with them. But in the meantime, make your list. Make sure that you're evangelizing. Understand what control and what options you have, and see how flexible that platform is for you. That's it for today. Join us next week. We'll talk to you later.